Hello and welcome to another Mr. Carter Science Special. In this video we'll be looking at the blood. By the end of the video all of you can name the components of the blood and describe their various functions, and some of you will be able to explain how blood clots are formed. So let's just have a little think about the blood. The blood is a transport medium. That means it's carrying a large number of different substances. Most of them are carried in the liquid part of the blood known as the plasma. So floating around in that plasma we have things like red blood cells and white blood cells. And if you notice on the diagram there are two different types of white blood cell. We also have platelets, which are broken bits of red blood cell floating around. But within the water that makes up the bulk of the plasma, we also have a number of other chemicals that are dissolved in that water. For example, we have a number of sugars like glucose that are dissolved in the water. We have urea, which is a waste product made by your liver when it breaks down excess amino acids. We also have the amino acids that are dissolved within the plasma, and we have carbon dioxide dissolved within the plasma. We also get fatty acids dissolved within the plasma, and that's a product of digestion when a fat molecule gets broken down into glycerol and fatty acids, and those fatty acids get absorbed and carried around in the plasma of the blood. The average person has between 4.7 and 5 litres of blood in their body. And as we've already said, the blood is a transport medium. Oxygen, glucose, amino acids, fats, carbon dioxide, urea are all transported within the blood. The blood also contains white blood cells, which will protect you from disease and pathogens. The blood also contains platelets and a protein called fibrinogen. And the two of these together can form blood clots and protect you from cuts. Blood clots can also form scabs, and a scab on your skin is a temporary barrier to protect you from pathogenic microbes that might enter your body and cause you illness. So let's look at the four components of the blood in more detail. We'll start by looking at red blood cells. Red blood cells are a biconcave disc, and what that means is if you imagine a sphere and you push in on two different sides of that sphere, and the sphere will become sort of this shape as you squash it and push in. And the reason that you have this biconcave shape is that it provides a large surface area to volume ratio, and therefore a very fast rate of diffusion. So oxygen can diffuse both in and out of a red blood cell very, very quickly due to its large surface area. Red blood cells also contain hemoglobin, and hemoglobin is a red pigment, a protein that has a single iron atom in the middle, known as part of the heme group, and it's that atom that the oxygen atom will bond to. And one hemoglobin molecule can carry up to 4 oxygen atoms. Red blood cells also have no nucleus at all, and therefore they can carry more hemoglobin, and therefore more oxygen atoms can be transported around the body. And remember, the oxygen will be utilized by the cells of the body in respiration to release energy in the form of ATP. There's also white blood cells. That's a component of your blood, and there's two types of white blood cells here. We've got the phagocytes with their unusual shaped nucleus, and lymphocytes, which have this very large nucleus in the center. And the function of a white blood cell is to fight diseases and microbes or pathogens. The phagocytes will surround and digest the microbes, and the lymphocytes will produce antibodies to kill the pathogens. We also have platelets. Platelets are another component of the blood. Now, a platelet is a bit of broken red blood cells combined together with some proteins. And platelets will, as we've already said, form blood clots to prevent and create temporary barriers to prevent microbes from entering. The clotting process itself involves a series of enzyme-controlled reactions where the protein fibrinogen is converted into a different protein called fibrin. Fibrin fibers then form a mesh-like structure, almost like a sieve, that will capture platelets and red blood cells to form the clot itself. The blood clot can then form the scabs, and the scabs will prevent microbes entering. And this is a very normal and useful function of your blood. However, occasionally a blood clot can be created within your blood vessels, and it can travel to blood vessels in your heart, like the coronary artery, or blood vessels in your brain, and create a blockage which can cause either a heart attack or a stroke. The final component of the blood is the yellowish liquid called plasma. And plasma is in effect the water part of your blood, and dissolved within that plasma are all the nutrients and waste products that need to be transported around your body: the glucose, the amino acids, the fats, the carbon dioxide, and the urea. Let's just look in a little bit more detail at the white blood cells. And again, as I said previously, you have the phagocytes, and the phagocytes are easy to identify because they have the unusually shaped nucleus, and their function is to look for any foreign cells and then surround them with their cell membrane and release digestive enzymes to digest and destroy the microbe. So there's a few ways you can describe this. You can say that they will surround and digest, or surround and ingest, and the whole process is known as phagocytosis. The other type of white blood cell are the lymphocytes. Lymphocytes have a much larger nucleus, and their job is to produce a variety of proteins that will help the immune response. So they'll produce antitoxins, which will neutralize any toxins produced by the pathogen. They'll produce antibodies, which will attack and destroy the pathogen. And one of the ways that the antibodies will do this is that the antibodies produced by the lymphocyte will bind to a protein called an antigen, which sticks out of the pathogen cell membrane. So you can see here we've labeled some of these spiky antigens that are sticking out of my pathogen's cell membrane, and you can see the antibodies binding onto them, and they will either destroy the pathogen or make it much more easy for the white blood cell to carry out phagocytosis, because one antibody could stick to 2 or 3 different pathogens, allowing them to clump together. I hope you've enjoyed this short video on the blood. Please let me know in the comments what you've learned, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more YouTube videos from Mr. Carter Science Specials. Thank you very much for watching.